Hello and welcome. I'm Steve Clemens, editor-at-large of The Hill. Thank you for joining us for a discussion on the venture economy, America's hidden resilience factor. I'd like to thank our sponsor, GoDaddy, for their support of today's event, which is taking place on Minority Business Enterprise Day, a grassroots nonprofit manned by a changemaker with a laptop, artisanal treats sold at a local farmer's market, an online art exhibit of handmade, repurposed pieces. These ventures, also known as micro-businesses, are helping shape the livelihoods of millions of newfound business owners across the United States. And as we find ways to embrace the new normal during this terrible pandemic, these ventures take on a greater significance. In a trend that began much before the global pandemic, entrepreneurs in both rural and urban America had begun to realize a new iteration of the American dream. And we call these things micro-ventures or ventures. Many of these businesses are manned by a single individual with a laptop. They often have no employees and no physical location, but they're rewriting how we should measure, map, and understand economic growth and creation. As a trend that ignores the so-called rural-urban divide, ventures are also a fresh point of consideration for economic policy experts, and they are everywhere in every part of the country. We will spend the next hour examining these ventures and ask how they can thrive. We will also explore how these micro-businesses could be a catalyst for economic growth in these times and how policymakers can support these everyday, brand new micro-venture entrepreneurs. We have a fantastic lineup of speakers to help us get smarter on this topic, mayors, experts on the digital economy and entrepreneurship, as well as micro-business owners themselves. Before we get underway, a few housekeeping notes. You can tweet us at @TheHillEvents using the hashtag #TheHillVentures. It sounds easy. We are broadcasting live and we'll be taking your questions throughout the program. As with any live stream, you could experience occasional trouble with the video. I always laugh at this part, and they say that refreshing the page should, in most cases, fix the problem. Never does for me, but I hope it does for you. Before we get into our interviews this afternoon, a message from our sponsor, Aman Bhutani, CEO of GoDaddy, will share with us some new data from GoDaddy's Venture Forward study. Over to you, Aman.
Good afternoon, everyone. And Steve, thank you for bringing us together on this really important topic of everyday entrepreneurs and their micro businesses. Thank you also Mayor Lightfoot, Neela, Larry, Jackie, Nikki, and Candice for joining us today. I joined GoDaddy a year ago, and GoDaddy introduced me to the everyday entrepreneur. I found them everywhere. My family, my friends, my neighbors, so many of them were running these micro businesses. These businesses with 10 employees or less. Often just one person in the whole business, and sometimes a side hustle, a cause that they truly believed in and wanted to share with everyone else. In fact, my dental hygienist, I found, is an inventor. In the evenings, she invented a tool that helps dental hygienists be better. Steve found the same thing when he posted on Facebook and asked people about their micro businesses. Our research shows that these micro businesses have a huge impact in their local economies. They truly make the world better for all of us. GoDaddy's privileged position is that we have access to 20 million everyday entrepreneurs, and we can see what's happening in their businesses. Over the last 20 years, the world's economy has been subject to the dot-com crash, to the Great Recession, and now COVID-19. And when we look at communities within the US that recovered well from those really difficult times, we found that communities with high density of micro businesses recovered faster and recovered better. That's a really important topic, and that's what we're here to talk to you about today. There are three things I want to cover with you. I want to introduce you to the everyday entrepreneur. I want to share with you the importance they have, the importance they bring to their local communities, the difference that they make. And I want to share with you a few ideas of how we can support them. These micro businesses and their needs are truly different from big businesses and medium-sized businesses. And you likely know the big businesses in your local community. You likely know the medium-sized businesses in your local community. But do you know the micro businesses in your community? Do you know the impact that they are having? One policymaker told us that you cannot create policy for what you don't see. Well, we're excited to open the world of micro businesses and everyday entrepreneurs to all of you. So let's start to get to know them. Here's Danielle Smith, who created Soundbag.
My name is Danielle Smith, and I am the CEO and designer of Soundbag. I come from a family of entrepreneurs, and from being very young, I knew I was going to have a business. I started out in furniture design and upholstery, and then I started looking around for something else to really feed my passion for making things. I'm just a maker. I love making things. Okay, so this is where I create. This is where all the Soundbag work gets done. This is one of the machines that I use. So it has this little arm here that makes it very easy to use. I have my webbing here so I can get my colors together. This is where I like to sit and get all my ideas out. When a person buys a bag, you're now a Soundbag family. With the emblem on the bag, when music makers see it, they feel appreciated. It's about the music, like that's the whole point, right? It's like the beat that, it's like a heartbeat. It's what makes you feel.
Danielle and everyday entrepreneurs like her inspire me. She is CEO, CFO, chief designer, all from her garage. And there are millions of everyday entrepreneurs in your local communities making a huge difference. And they are truly everywhere. They cross social, economic, political, and geographic boundaries. Here is a map of the US that shows micro business density per 100 people by zip code. The darker colors represent higher micro business density. These businesses go across age as well. We have retirees, homemakers, veterans, and students, all defined by their creativity and their resilience. Over the last 2 years, we partnered with the University of Iowa and Arizona State University, and more recently with UCLA, to start to look at data from 20 million micro businesses. What we found is that with one additional micro business per 100 people in a community, the average household median income growth jumped 11%. One more everyday entrepreneur in a community leads to 2+ jobs in that community. More everyday entrepreneurs means more jobs. I talked earlier about some of the most difficult times in our economy over the last 20 years. Let's take an example from the Great Recession. Two cities that have similar size, similar diversity and age groups, similar foreign-born population, similar broadband adoption, Lafayette, Louisiana, and Charleston, South Carolina. Both coming out of the Great Recession, one was in the top 10% and the other was in the bottom 10%. The difference, one has twice the micro business density than the other. More recent data from COVID-19 clearly shows that though small businesses are impacted, micro businesses continue to be more resilient. Micro businesses high in communities which have higher density of micro businesses saw lower low-income job loss. And when small businesses and micro businesses came together, they were able to offset low-income job loss. This was through the creativity of the everyday entrepreneur. Let's meet one more everyday entrepreneur and see how he did it.
My name is Pierre. I'm the head chef and owner of Free Thai, which is at the St. Mark Market here in New Orleans, Louisiana. I'm a Haitian American, and I take flavors that I grew up with and put them together and make creative dishes. Literally, this would be the busiest time of the year. Like, all my money that I would be making right now would sustain me for the rest of the year. So that is not here. One of the things that helped Free Thai and helped the community was feeding the front lines. There's different groups that I use, like St. Bernard Project, as well as the Red Beans Project. Through that, we feed different groups, including frontline workers at the hospitals, elderly, the homeless, or just any kind of disadvantaged groups. So I like supplying food to them, and I like to focus my sources and my ideas, energy to them, to work together, come together, create opportunities, create events via face-to-face, via online, to kind of find ways to build revenue. We got to constantly be connecting so we can all stay sane, keep things going, just for everybody's health. I mean, it ain't easy, but we're out here doing it. It's just, things are a little tighter, and we're still making it through, we're pushing.
Charlie is leading by example. It's his creativity, it's his resilience that's powering him to find ways to succeed. He's doing it for himself and his community. He's finding new ways to pivot online, communicate with others, reach customers, build a successful business. And millions of everyday entrepreneurs like Charlie are making a difference in your communities every day. We believe there are 4 things policymakers can do to help micro businesses help you make your communities better. The first is access to broadband. We all know that cheap, reliable internet is often the first step that micro businesses need to start. They start with a domain name and a website, an online presence that helps people find them, get to know them. But although broadband is necessary, our data clearly shows that it's not sufficient. Everyday entrepreneurs need skills training, which is the second and very important thing that we can all help them have. At GoDaddy, we have a program called Empower. And as part of that, I had the opportunity to meet with 60 everyday entrepreneurs. They had questions from me, ranging from technology choices to financial decisions to how much risk they should take. And we need access for them to low-cost mentors, experts that can help train them in these new areas like online marketing, like online commerce, how to set up their presence, how to go to the major platforms and reach their customers. These are the things that our everyday entrepreneurs are trying to figure out as they push forward with the thing that they're passionate about. The third is that we all know that everyday entrepreneurs take a risk when they step away from their jobs and start a business. We want them to take this risk for all of us. But one of the risks they shouldn't have to take is access to benefits. If we could come up with creative ways to offer benefits like healthcare, even when they were not in their big company jobs, that would make the overall risk for them much lower. And they could chase their dreams because they're not just chasing those dreams for themselves, they're making the world a better place for all of us when they do that. The fourth is access to capital. All of our structures are set up in a manner where loans can be given to large and medium and small businesses as well. But micro businesses are different. Often they only need $5,000, but they don't have the background. They don't have the relationship with the bank. They may not have all the paperwork that's needed. So we need new and creative ways to be able to fund these everyday entrepreneurs, to go after the businesses that they want to start and make a difference in our local communities. As I sit here and ask for your support, I also want to be clear about our pledge. This research that we talked about today is called Venture Forward, and you can find it at www.godaddy.com/ventureforward. There you can find your community and the difference micro businesses are making in your community. The data that we have, we want all organizations that can help micro businesses to have access to it. So we are giving it away freely. We want policymakers to have access to it. In fact, we are going to pledge to knock on the door of 500 mayors of cities all across America and give them this data set and help them see their micro businesses and also share with them the best practices and the lessons learned from doing the good work in Boise, Idaho, or Denison, Texas, or Gilbert, Arizona, where new policies were created to help micro businesses grow and thrive and ultimately help their own communities. I want to ask you to lean forward. I want you to make a difference for the people that are making a difference in their local communities. We can do this together. This is amazing work. A partnership, a public-private partnership can really do new things for all of us. With that, I will turn it back to Steve. Thank you.